Hey everyone, Eleanor here, and we are going to look at another professionally designed interior space together. We're going to walk through it, talk about what's working, how it's put together. One of the things I did last week, and I want to emphasize this at the top this week, is that these interiors have been professionally produced. And I don't just mean the interior design part. So, yes, there's an interior designer who's trained, who has done a lot of work to pull these spaces together, and that's why they look good. But there's also when they're published in a professional magazine, or whether it's in print or online, and you also see this on shows on TV like HGTV, is that these are staged spaces, and being staged in particular for entertainment purposes. So there's an entertainment industry component behind what we're seeing and how it's being presented. Know that these are actually lived in spaces. And so what would be such a cool trick, and hi, I'm available for this if someone ever wants to bring me in, is to bring, like, actually have people living in the space, actually have their belongings, show us the strewn children's clothing, show us the electrical cords, see how people are actually living in this space, the piles of books, the old magazines that they aren't never going to read, some dirty dishes here and there, and so on. Show us a little bit of the cluttered experience. Anyhow, I digress. We're on the lookout for such a publication. So again, this is a closer look, and we're trying to understand what goes into creating this interior in a practical level, while understanding that there has been a professional level of presentation that we are now getting to experience: lighting, production crew, I mean, photographer, wide angle lenses, and we're going to see something special in this particular one that really gets at what a lens and lighting can do. So without further ado, I want to show you this space. Now, this is a little bit different. Usually my taste is a little different than this. I'm going out a little bit on a limb here to share this with you. This is a very Georgian interior. The style of the building is Georgian, and then the interior designer employed Georgian style on the interior as well. So, and what we mean by Georgian, it has to do with the Georgian era, when there was various King Georges in the British monarchy. And we're going to touch on some of the details of that style a little bit as we go, and then I'll try to put a finer point on it later so you have that touchstone. But main thing, let's just look. Let's just see. What do we see? And the first thing that I always see in a space like this are the colors. And I'm struck by this because right away I can identify a complementary color scheme, which means two colors opposite each other on the color wheel. And in this case, blue and orange. And what I'm interested in is which blue and which orange. And we're just going to put a pin in the blue color, because this is going to get, what's the best word? This is going to get interrogated a little bit later on. So we see blue and orange, but that's not the only thing going on. There is something else afoot. And what that is a lot of fabric. There's so much fabric, and we'll see that throughout the interior. There's so much fabric in this space. For example, I mean, the sofa and all the pillows and you know, the different upholsteries as we bounce around the different kinds of furniture. And the furniture seems to be all mostly the orange or red orange, and then a blue ottoman. And then we see the two types of window treatment. We have a Roman shade here in one pattern and textile, and a different pattern and textile for the hanging curtain. There's even an upholstered shade in the corner. So, and there's a carpet on the floor. I mean, there's just a lot of fabric. What we see also here is a mixing of different patterns. And we talked a little bit about this last week. One way to keep the chaos at a minimum when you're mixing prints is to find a color, a common color that brings them all together. And in this case, it's white, but it's a little more specific than that. It's a white background with a color, a single color pattern. White background, single color pattern on the curtain. White background, single color pattern on the chair. We see that on the pillows. We see that on the ottoman. I mean, there's a little variation of that. You know, these Roman shades are a little different. It's not as white, you know, but they're a little bit more in the apricot family. They still go along with the color scheme. The choices are bold. I mean, this is the thing, you know, like the colors are strong, saturated colors, and then there's mixed prints as well as texture. And so then the walls become kind of just background, which is kind of how they maybe should be. I don't know, should be in this space anyway. We see the Georgian element in the opulent use of textiles, in this coziness that this sort of fabric laden interior brings. And, you know, if you're someone who has mostly relied on color and paint to drive your interior, it might be an interesting push for you to think a little bit more about the textiles, about the upholstery. And if something needs reupholstering, set yourself up for success. Talk to a professional upholsterer, bring some images, talk to a designer. And the designer of this space is Tara Craig. And this is actually her own apartment, or as they say in the UK, her own flat. And it's hard to tell from some of these images, but this is a very small space. But we're gonna be able to deduce the size a little bit better. So here again is that wide angle shot, everything taking it all in, all the intricate molding, also part of a Georgian interior, a beautiful ornate brass light fixture. A little more detail here. Oh, what's this? Another upholstery. Oh my goodness. And this one is different. It's got a different pattern. It still has that white or cream background, but it's definitely not simple like this guy with white with one color on it. This one's got multiple colors, you know, at least probably 4 colors on top of a white background. But you know, it's very much a lot of blue and a lot of this peachy rose. So it holds to the color scheme very closely. It is another bold choice, but it's playing well with the color scheme. And another shot here, a little more closer up. You can see some of the patterns, 2 different upholsteries on some of these pillows. My. And now we're in the kitchen. And from what I read, this is actually, if you're standing in this room and you're facing this window, you turn around and this is right there. This is joined space. This is all one space. So very small kitchen attached to this sitting area. And great design for a little kitchen. It's also a hallway, you know, so we're trying to do a lot here in a very small space. But there's a generous table. I think there's a better picture up here, is there? All right, we'll get back to this. There's a generous table, comfortable chairs, also upholstered. And then let's talk a little bit about the kitchen storage. So it's all built in. It's interesting that they hover the top of the cabinets below the trim, below the ceiling trim. It might be a design choice. It might be a building restriction, a limitation that they're only allowed to go this high. Hard to know. Like, why wouldn't this go all the way to the ceiling? Because this is going to become a cleaning issue. But you know, it also kind of looks like, I don't know, it has some the negative space kind of has a nice shape. There's a nice shape that forms around the cabinet detailing. So we have this tall cabinet here, probably hiding a fridge. Maybe on one side, maybe it's a very small fridge because there's no other fridge in the space. How about this dish rack? Ooh, we love this. We love this. Nice thing here is you can wash the dishes and then put them up here. And if you don't know about these cabinets, this style of cabinet, that it's open. There's usually some lattice underneath, but designed so that the drips can go down into the sink. So you wash your dishes, put them away to dry and to store. Generous amount of space. I mean, not overly. I'm not trying to ignore the fact that this is a small kitchen, but either side of the stove has some workspace, which is essential. You should always have some workspace on either side of your stove, whether it's the raw ingredients you're adding to a pot or the finished cooked item that you need to take off the stove and set somewhere. And also, when you're pulling things in and out of the oven, it's good to have surfaces, multiple surfaces. So lots of drawers, overhead vent, very nice to have in a small space, vital really. And then you can always use the table as a workspace in a small kitchen. Interesting to note here that there's these drawer fronts under the sink. So I am guessing, because this is a deep drawer, that this one is, at least this one's functional, and this is probably actually a drawer. This middle one, maybe. This one up here, that's just a cover, because there's going to be the sink depth underneath, and that takes up that space. But it looks good, makes it look cohesive. This is the hall that we saw earlier, going from the kitchen down this hall. And it's hard to tell from this photo, but this is the front door. We're going to see it in another photo. So this is the front entry, very tight, very narrow. And so then you're in the bedroom. So across from the bedroom is the sitting area and kitchen. Then we go down the hall and we're back in the bedroom. This is the front door. I mean, that's the sum of this particular space. And so what I really love here is a break from the blues and the apricots of the living room, and this very neutral, anchored, earthy olive color, which they call khaki in the article. It's glossy, which is a surprising twist, but it does help bounce the light around this small space. It adds a little bit of depth because you can see the reflection, kind of like a mirror adds depth to a space. And this is not lacquer. Some of you maybe have heard about people lacquering their walls. This is just a very high gloss paint, which you can also opt for. And you know what, they're talking about bespoke khaki gloss. So in a couple instances, these colors have been custom designed, and I'm assuming by the designer. Here's the bedroom. And so she went with blue. She went with blue for the space, blue and white. It's very fabric-y, so much fabric. Even the walls, this is not wallpaper, this is a fabric lined wall. And it is a really like sumptuous, luxurious thing to do in a bedroom. It adds to the softness. It adds a cozy feeling. And here's the best part. It's an acoustic benefit. So it does dampen the sound. And you can it's like you walk into an acoustic space like it just gets quieter. So how nice would that be, that you walk into your bedroom and it's just a little quieter. Again, two kinds of window treatment. I mean, there's so much fabric in this space. There's two kinds of window treatment. There's three kinds of upholstery for the bed. There's the comforter, there's the skirt, and there's four. More than four, actually, because there's the pillow. There's the bed head. What do we call that thing? Headboard. Thank you. And then there's like a canopy. Cute sconces, the shell theme. It does have a kind of coastal vibe, but wait, there's more. I don't know, but there's more. We shall see. This built-in storage with this nice blue that just sort of hangs out over here, keeping things connected. The flooring is the sisal? No, sisal. God, I can't remember how to say that word, sisal. And it's installed, wall to wall. So probably glued down, shouldn't budge. Nice way to cover some floors. I meant to show you, we're going to just pop back over here. Floors in the kitchen. These old wooden boards. This place used to be a pub. So she sanded them and then just covered them with a translucent kind of wash, a stain that's got some white in it, and which the white fills in the cracks of the wood and gives it this little bit, gives it this lighter appearance. Nice thing to do for a darker interior. And then we had this linoleum pattern going through the hall, and then a third flooring here with a Cecil. This is an important detail, a threshold. She kept it brass to go with the other fittings. Slight change in the floor height, so you want to watch your step. Okay, this is the bathroom, and it's interesting here. We're gonna learn more about this door. This is what they call a jib door, hidden door, and it opens to this cute bathroom. Let's just take a moment to appreciate. First, we have the 3x6 subway tile in white, a very basic tile that you can find everywhere. Not sure how white the grout is, which is interesting. It's probably the same color grout as down here in the pink zone, this 4x4. So, right, like she shifted, she did subway tile, and then she went with a 4x4 square. And then down here on the floor, yeah, a different tile, a whole pattern, a whole thing. Observe. This is my favorite thing to notice is when designers they're like, we're not gonna make it match. We're in the same color family. It's all going along just fine. It does not have to match perfectly. But I am so interested in the grout because it looks a little aged up here. I'm sure this is new grout though. And is it the same color as it is down here? Appears to be. I mean, it's hard to tell exactly, but I'm thinking it is, and it just looks different with the bright white than against the pink. I like it. I like it because it's something old. It looks a little old. Okay, we're going to just bounce through these last two spaces because there's only these two photos. And apparently there's a downstairs to this small flat, which is nice, but I'm not sure how much use it gets. Like it sure didn't get the whole Georgian treatment. And there's just one line in the article. There's another living room with a distinctly more contemporary feel. Indeed, this is very much what my home feels like. White walls, art on the wall, and more contemporary furniture. Cork wall. I love cork walls. And then this bedroom, this is the only shot of this bedroom. So I'm guessing it's a tiny, tiny space. You have a full bed, probably not even a queen bed, with a yellow blanket. Nice colors, it's very light, maybe sage green, maybe it's just a beige with some hints of green in it. This pattern, which I think this is the same pattern as was on on the chairs in the living space, not entirely sure. But cute little bed space. Okay, I'm gonna scroll back up to the top because I want to show you something that I happened to run into. When you go to look at these spaces in a magazine, in this case, House and Garden, it's House and Garden UK, then you can find the designer, Tara Craig. Then you can go to the designer's website. They always have a website, and they always have a portfolio. So often you can find more images of the space. So we did that. She has a business, it's called Ensemblier. Ensemblier. I think my French is not the best, but I think I'm pronouncing it right, which is interior designer in French, London. And okay, you ready? We're doing it. Check it out. This is the same space. Do you recognize it? Okay, back to the beginning, back to this. Okay, this is a different sofa, but this chair, there it is. This is the same ottoman. This chair is there. See? So what's going on? It's so different. It's so different. It's like a green blue. I'm just like falling over my block. Sorry. It's a green blue instead of, it looks sort of like light blue. I thought this was light blue. Light blue. Okay. Maybe actually now that I'm looking at it, having seen the other image, it's got a little more green than I realized. Maybe it's a little bit not so powdery. But what I really think is happening, and also the sofa is different. And there's like, keep your eye on a couple spaces. Sofa, I'm going to go back one more time. Sofa, look here, chest of drawers, and look here, lamp. Ah, lamp has changed. Chest of drawers now here, different sofa. And then the lighting is just also really different. It's just very bright in here, and it's a wider angle. And then in here, narrower angle. We're getting a more realistic view of the space. We've got the, different lighting. And so now we're seeing the color on this wall, perhaps as it really is. And it's, one of the things that I always say in my color workshops is it's about relationships. Color doesn't stand on its own without a relationship to its environment, a relationship to the other colors, and then, of course, light. Color is actually dependent on light. So we don't understand color unless there's light, and the kind of light will also make a difference. So I'm so excited by this, but it just changes so much. And what it changes for me is that while the other interior was super lovely, it felt really cool. I mean, like cold, like blue is cool. And so what I think is so neat here is how warm this feels. And there's still blue in the space. And here's the kitchen. And here's that other sofa that was in the original image here, this sofa. And now you can see really the proximity to the kitchen. It's just right there. The back of the sofa is one side of the kitchen. And the color on this cabinet is similar than to what we saw in here. Quick comparison. It's a little warmer. It's just a little warmer, a little ruddier, got a little more glow. And then otherwise, yeah, maybe this feels a little more lived in, livable. Still staged interior. Maybe there's a few more cutting boards. And now we can see the hall with the front door a little more clearly. Interesting architectural detail, these transom windows, likely allowing some of this daylight to get into the common area, into the passageways of the main building that allow for access to the apartments. And then let's look at this. So this is just the same photo twice. Now we're in the bedroom, and it was so blue and coastal feeling, and maybe you still think it is, but I love how much warmer it feels. And I think this is such an interesting challenge from a designer's point of view, is how do you play with blue and keep it from being too icy? I mean, maybe you want a very cool, especially this time of year. It's literally 100 degrees outside right now here. But how do you make a blue bedroom, for example, feel cozy? How do you make it feel less cool? Which I think that's a wonderful thing to explore just as a practice, as a kind of curiosity. And all of these upholsteries now that seemed so white in the other image, we're going to compare the bedrooms now. I mean, look at how cool. And yeah, it's a little bit beige, but it still had this coolness. Here it feels so much more warm, so much more creamy and warm. Yeah. And then we're looking at this particular part of the window treatment, this shade, which is a room darkening shade with a fabric attached to it, with the pops of yellow. Suddenly they have a little bit more of a relationship. Suddenly they're doing a little bit more work. And they were here all along, and I just I didn't really notice them like I do here in this particular lighting. And here's the bathroom. Looks a little more golden. And there's this close up of this detail here, which is just a nice picture, and it does give off an energy, a kind of mood. Again, speaking towards kind of luxury, volumes of fabric have an opulent feel to them. This one is a very doable one. When you buy a shower curtain, get a super long one. The other thing is, I wouldn't, you don't maybe feel so safe always having your curtains pool on the floor. Maybe you think they get dirty. But in a bathroom, especially with a easily removed curtain like that, if it's made out of a linen, you just throw it in the washing machine. I would have a plastic liner in the bathroom myself, just because I literally do not want the water to be hitting this curtain. But yeah, it would work. Okay, real quick, what is a jib door? A jib door, here's a picture of one. It's the hidden door thing, like when you're in a mystery mansion and you're trying to find your way out of the library, and it's just all lined with shelves, and oh, suddenly this bookshelf is actually a door. So it's a door that is flush mounted right into the wall. So it's like you literally carve out some wall and put your door in there, often without hardware. That's not well written. There's definitely hardware. You just can't see it, making the door invisible. So if I zoom in on this photo, you can actually see the hardware. So this is a flush mounted door, and the hardware is embedded in the side. So it's inside the wall, and it's on the door jamb, and not the door jamb, but on the side of the door panel. And the other thing that they do is to blend it into the wall by, in this case, adding molding to the floor. And then you can see here another application. And then I guess, you can make it pink. And then you can add wallpaper. This one has a little grip, because if you're touching all this wallpaper, you're going to leave your oil stains on it. Don't want to do that. And then here's the wonderful hidden door in the library. I think there's one more. Hidden door on the bookshelf under the stairs. How great. Okay, and then last but not least, Georgian style. So this is in Better Homes and Gardens. So our jib door was in House Beautiful. I'll add those links. Again, I'll have those links in the post. What is Georgian style, and how does it differ from Regency core? And they're talking about the influence of, what are these TV shows called? I'm forgetting. They have them here. Bridgerton, and then Queen Charlotte. I love Bridgerton. Haven't seen Queen Charlotte. Apparently now everyone wants Regency core, which was the style of Bridgerton. Queen Charlotte, which is prequel, pretty sure I've got that right, came before Regency. It was Georgian, had a little more of this kind of elaborate and ornate applied decor. And how they put it here, the Georgian style is known for its decorative, ornate features such as intricate moldings, carved woodwork, and plasterwork. In contrast, Regency style is characterized by a more restrained classical aesthetic with less ornamentation and cleaner lines. The other thing about the Georgian aesthetic, which we saw some of that in the interior before, is that it is usually a symmetrical layout in the interior, but also in the buildings. And you might recognize the Georgian style because it was very popular in the United States, and especially on the East Coast, and especially in the Northeast. And you can still see a lot of examples of that today. All right, let me know what you think. I'm super curious if you like the cool blue or the warm blue better. Anything else you want to know, let me hear about it in the comments. You can always also reach me. There's a way to contact me through the Substack. If you go to the home page of the Refuge Design Workshop, and then there should be a tab that says contact, and you'll be able to send me an email. Questions, recommendations, requests are all welcome. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.